Can we make sure that everybody is online before we get started?
Trustee Consolino, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you guys.
I can't hear.
We're going to have to turn that up just a little bit.
I hear you.
Yeah, we got to turn.
Hello?
There you go.
Hi, I'm here.
Right, we got you.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Was Nicole supposed to be on or no?
No.
Nope.
Trustee Rogers? Present. Trustee Reinders?
Present.
Trustee Pazmino?
Present.
Trustee Consolino?
Present.
Trustee Fialco?
Present.
Mayor Yurich?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, sir, there is one. I'd like to move I-2 above I-1.
Okay, well, all right, right now, we're taking I-2 off. I'm not making an appointment tonight at this time, so no action will be taken.
Do we need a vote, or does that need a second, or some sort of motion?
Yep.
Oh, sir.
Second. And no one made a motion? No, he can't make a motion on that.
I guess that's fine, but if the mayor is not going to be making an appointment, what type of action are you going to take?
So you're talking for number 1 or 2, no appointments at all?
When I said I-2 is what the mayor said.
I-2, that's it? Well, is there a second? You're making a motion, Beth?
The mayor cannot make a motion.
Right, I know that.
I did.
He's saying he's not acting on it, so I'm not really sure. What are the things?
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
If there's no second, is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Now, do you want to make a motion to move I-2 in front of I-1?
I am.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, you have to call the roll.
Yes, please, hold on one second. Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. We'll go to E, minutes, February 9th, 2022. So is there a motion for the minutes on February 9th, 2022 board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Okay. Next.
I'd like to ask legislative council just one question on these. Instead of going through the whole roll call for these, can we do the voice call on these minutes?
I would suggest you should do a roll call.
Okay, thank you. I was just trying to make it easy.
Next, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 21st, 2022 board meeting?
So moved.
I will second it.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Okay. Next is our motion to approve the minutes of April 13th, 2022 board meeting.
So moved. April what?
13.
April 13th, 2022.
E3.
Trustee Kazmino made the first. Is there a second?
Second.
Any,
Mayor, before you act on these, can I just suggest that on page 3 of the minutes for this particular meeting, in items 2 and 3, were the approval of the March 9th, 2022 and March 23rd, 2022 minutes, it says Trustee Consolino motioned to adjourn, second, and I think that word should have been approved. And then same thing for the one March 3rd, where it says Trustee Kazmino motion to adjourn. I think it should be motion to approve, because you were approving minutes, I believe, at that point in time.
Corrections will be made.
okay. All right, so a roll call on 13.
I believe Trustee Consolino chimed in. I couldn't hear them.
Jennifer, you want to say it again?
No, I just said thank you.
All right, so roll call on,
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th, 2022 board meeting?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Last one, is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2022 board meeting?
So moved. I'll second it.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next would be public comment. Okay, we'll start out with Jim Shake.
Good evening. My comments today are about the mayor's appointment of Jay Roti to the Plan Commission.
Microphone on if you can. Thank you.
How's that? Okay, so the Plan Commission, but first I have a question for the board from the majority voters in this village. This board was voted last year on the promise of fiscal responsibility and lower taxes. Most voters just kind of crossed their fingers and hoped for the best, but not me. I put my butt in those seats over there and I paid attention. I was at almost every meeting for over a year. I didn't make speeches, I didn't talk over anyone, I didn't yell at anyone, I didn't shout anyone down. I sat quietly and paid attention. So what did I find? On the very first day, this board was attacked and obstructed by administrators, village employees, ex-trustees, and their family members. You were obstructed from day one. You couldn't even make a motion or even ask a question without being attacked. One of you had the FOIA of the village to get information that you were legally entitled to. But those attacks were about policies, okay? What were those policies? You voted down a $1.5 million tax raise for one, and that alone should stand out because that makes every one of you sitting here, it makes you look good. Because we're staring down the face of a recession right now. But you pushed forward, you did what you said you were going to do, and you kept pushing forward. But now you're going to be facing new attacks from a very loud, very angry minority. The mob is forming as we speak. It is a small mob with a Napoleon complex. I call it the short mob. The short mob is attacking you personally. It's not about policies anymore, it's about political. Voting season is coming up. They want you gone. They want their power back. They attack your character, your family, your kids on Facebook. They call you thief. They call you corrupt. There's a way to make it all stop. You can stop the pain right now. All you gotta do is give up, surrender, quit. So here's the question I pose to the board. Are you gonna keep pushing forward? Are you gonna continue to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous hate? Can you continue to do the job that the voters put you here to do? If your answer is yes, then we support you. If your answer is yes, then I support you. I support the appointment of Jay Roti. I support the hiring of Carmen Morella. I support any appointment of anyone that would help you do what you promised the voters that you were going to do. And I support the firing of any village employee that would obstruct you, because they're not just obstructing you, they're obstructing me, and they're obstructing voters, the majority voters. If your answer is yes, not only do you deserve our support, you deserve our respect, and you deserve to have the people in place to help you do the job. Thank you.
Next would be Don Bailey.
Good evening, board members and mayor. My name is Don Bailey. I've been a resident of Homer Township and Homer Glen since 1978. I've been out here a very long time. I'll wait for a second.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I've been out here a very long time. This isn't about me, but I was on the planning commission when it was Homer Township. My wife was president of the PTA of Homer. My kids went to Homer School. They went to Lockport School. I've known a lot of the people sitting in this room tonight for a long time. I have always been very concerned about what happens in Homer Township and Homer Glen. I've known Jay Roti, and that's why I'm here tonight, by the way, to speak on behalf of Jay. I've known him professionally as he's a client of mine, and I've known him personally. I know his family. He's a wonderful man. He's a qualified man to do the job. Planning Commission is people who are not motivated by politics. Planning Commission is about looking what's presented, determining if it fits into the structure of the policies of Homer Glen, and then doing the job to make sure those policies are implemented. Jay is concerned about Homer. I know he goes to a lot of meetings, and I know he's qualified to do the job. So I'll end it just by saying he's been a resident for a long time. He is qualified to do the job. We shouldn't bring politics into this tonight. I know there's been scuttlebutt floating around about who supports what politician. Again, I hope we vote on the fact that someone's qualified for the job. I believe there are vacancies for the position, and Jay would be a wonderful addition to the Planning Commission of Homer Glen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Angel Shake.
Good evening, everybody. I am here to speak on the appointment of Jay Roti to the Planning Commission also. I've known Jay for a few years. We've known his family. He's very involved with the helping us with things with the school board and our kids, and he's always involved, always doing volunteer things to help the community. He's been in the community for over 30 years. He's been in the construction and planning field for almost 35 years. He single-handedly with his family organized things this Easter for the kids and brought us all together. He always is able to get input from the community, the volunteers. It's a volunteer position that, you know, I know he sent in his resume for, and he's willing to give his time. And no matter what, this position obviously has to be filled, but there's no one that I can think of that is more qualified for that, because he has the qualifications, he has the heart, and he always does things. You know, that sign in Meadowview, when it got taken down, who rebuilt it? You know, it had nothing to do with anything from the village that it was put up, and it was the people that needed help, and Jay and another woman single-handedly got that thing built up, you know, built back up, painted, decorated, and it looks nice again. He's always doing things to better our community, so I just wanted to just testify to his character. He's really qualified for this, and I know that there have been a lot of things said, again, involving politics, and this is not about politics. This is about making Homer what we want it to be and helping it, moving forward to continue the great things that we have here. So that's all. Thank you.
Next will be Jay Bradrich.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, my name is Jay Bradrich. I too am a longtime resident of Homer Glen, over 34 years. I too am a former member of the Plan Commission, Homer Glen. I too am here to endorse Jay Roti tonight. Jay, I've known Jay for about the last 5 years. My company has hired Jay for multiple commercial construction projects continuously over the last 5 years. Jay and I probably don't go a week without talking to each other. Many of those projects are design and build projects, which take a lot of design time together, where there's a lot of problem solving and issues that come up. I like the way Jay evaluates things and approaches things. He's a hard worker. He is very intelligent. He's very fair and extremely thorough. So I again would like to say I think that Jay is very qualified for the Plan Commission appointment, having been a member of the Planning Commission. And I think he would be a value asset to Homer Glen.
Next would be Lou Zemke.
Good evening. My name is Lou Zemke. I've been a resident at Marion Village Retirement Community for the last 12 years. And you're going to be surprised. I'm not here talking about the Planning Commission. We're going to take a little break. We'll talk about something different. Back in May of 2018, a couple of people took it upon themselves to approach Bloomington to see if we could form a legion, an American Legion in Homer Glen. Many people don't even know we have a legion, but believe it or not, we do. I am the commander of the PFC Michael C. Oliveri American Legion Post 2011. We are headquartered at Marion Village, which is another first. It's the only legion that is headquartered at a retirement community. One of the reasons we established it at the community is many of our members live there and they're unable to drive and can't get to their old Legion post, but they can get to ours just by walking down the stairs or elevator. So it's many advantages. The 2018, when we formed the Legion, we had to come up with a name for the Legion. And Michael C. Oliveri is a local resident of Homer Glen who was killed in action in Iraq in 2011. He left a wife and a baby. He paid the ultimate sacrifice, his life, so that we can sit here and have these meetings and do whatever the hell we want in this country. That cost a lot of lives. We fought for that freedom. So tonight I'm coming to the board asking for your help to try to find all of the veterans living in Homer Glen. We only have 36 members currently. I know there's a heck of a lot more veterans in Homer Glen and surrounding towns. I need your help to identify them. Let them know we have a Legion. Let them know we're looking for members. The most important thing we got, people, is veterans. They're who fought for this country, and freedom is not free. Before I leave, I have to identify a couple of people. Trustee Beth Rogers was instrumental in 2018 working with our past commander, Ron Bain, who passed away, in getting the Legion formed. She was awesome. Thank you, Beth. Also want to thank Christina Toiki, the clerk, village clerk, who has been nothing but fantastic supporting the Legion. Not only the Legion, but the veterans, and she runs a Veterans Day at Cono Farm every November. Christina, great work. Thank you very much.
Next would be Christina Clausen.
I'm here to talk about, to endorse Jay Roti for the Planning Commission. I'd actually like to help you out, so don't leave, so I want to touch base with you. Jay Roti's an amazing man. I've known Jay Roti only a couple years now due to COVID. Jay has helped out with numerous things when it comes to school board stuff, unmasking our kids. He has been amazing. One thing I don't think a lot of people did realize is he is the one who did the Easter egg hunt, which was a huge thing. I mean, it was nonpartisan. No, there was no politics involved or anything like that. Kids came, they had a great time, and there was zero taxpayer money spent on that. So I think that shows, you know, Jay is a volunteer. He wants to be on the he wants to be on this committee. That is a volunteer position, and I think he is qualified. He's been doing, he's been in construction almost over 35 years. He knows what he's doing. He's very qualified, and he's an amazing guy. So I think you guys should vote him in. So thank you.
All right, next would be Jay Roti.
Board, Mayor, I was at the meeting back in November when Mr. I always say Yukovich, so I pronounce your name wrong, sorry, George.
Sorry.
But you basically said this was a good opportunity for anybody in the village that wanted to get involved. I think there was only 2 people. I kind of felt like you were talking to me because there was only 2 people here at the time. There was a deadline for the resumes, which I believe was December 31st. I filed immediately. Never heard back, not an email, not saying we're going to go a different way, just nothing, crickets. It wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I received a phone call asking if I was still available for the position, if I would still be interested in the position. I said, well, what's going on? They say, well, we've got 2 possible open spots, 1 spot, and people need help. We need more community support. I said, sure. I go, I would love to do it still. Now, I've never been called in for an interview. And so what I wanted to say basically is that I'll stay here for the whole meeting. And that at any point, if the board or mayor, if yourself, if you want to talk to me or ask me any questions, I'll be sitting in a chair right there. Thank you.
Next would be Joe Evans.
Thank you. My name is Joe Evans, and I live at 16210 Wildwood Lane. And I am also here to talk about Jay Roti and his appointment to the Planning Commission. I've been a longtime resident of Homer Glen, not quite as much as some of my predecessors, but it's been over 20 years. And I was actually here before the village was formed, so I know a lot about the community. And I've known Jay Roti all that time, and Jay is just really a top-notch candidate for this position. Jay, as many people in front of me have said, Jay is a very hard worker. He's very passionate about what he does. He understands the construction business, and he's very smart and does things for the community that really no one else does. I think he'd be an excellent appointment to the commission, and I strongly recommend that you consider him for that position. Thank you.
Next would be Mike Dean.
I am honored here to talk to the people and residents of Homer Glen. I know freedom is not free. I've been there, came back. So I got to give the man with the American Legion all my heart. I didn't know there was one in Homer Glen. But I'm getting back on the cameras. I heard that they wanted to bring in cameras for criminals. And I can't see where we're going with this. When you put up a camera, they said $25,000. We have the safest city in Illinois, and we want to put up cameras. And yet, our gas right now, you go to is $6 a gallon almost, $5.89?
$6.84.
$6.64. Yeah. So, I'm looking at, why are we putting up cameras when we have the safest in Illinois? Pritzker just signed a bill for $20 million more to put them in Will County and all these surrounding counties. I'm very skeptical about cameras. It kind of draws in your freedom. They're going to take your license plates. How long do they keep that license plates? 2 months, a month, a year? There's no say on it. I believe by taking down and getting rid of these cameras, you have more freedom of movement. And what I'm saying is, when the pandemic hit, we could go across the state. We can go to other cities. We can do other things. We know that there's a pandemic right around the corner. You just listen to these politicians talk. And once these cameras are in there, and you cross a line, they know that car, by reading your license plate, you're going to be doomed. And that's the same thing with putting them in our own city of Homer Glen. You leave the city, they know you left. I don't want any cameras around. I'm not in a communist country. I'm in a free world. Freedom of movement. Freedom of choice. And that choice might be dwelled down by putting these cameras in. I would like the members and the board to really think about it hard. We have no criminals. Was it 25% down? The sheriff's department, we should give them a great big hand. They've been doing a wonderful job. We see what bail reform has done. That's the thing that's behind it. It's not these cameras. These cameras, the private sector has cameras. You go to the banks, there's cameras all around. But don't let the government start taking cameras into our lives, because we will not have the freedom of movement. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody and the board. And I know it's not proper to talk, because you're only supposed to talk about one subject, but I know Jay. And I only know Jay for 6 months. I've been to board meetings. Him and his wife are stand-up people. I really don't know Jay that much like these other people do, but what I know of him, he should be voted in, because he's really good for Homer Glen. Thank you very much.
Next would be Talia Roti.
I'm talking about Jay Roti appointment in the planning committee. If I had 2 words to describe my dad, it would be hardworking and strong. I say this because when there's an obstacle in his way, he waits a minute. And he thinks about what he needs to do to get over the obstacle. He doesn't say how high he needs to jump. He wants to think it through and make sure it's done correctly. And that's something he does in every aspect of his life. My dad's amazing. He never complains. He just does what is expected of him and needed from him. My dad is a great father. He would do anything for anyone. So he just wants to give back to the community he is a part of. This is why he would be great for this position. Thank you.
Next would be Steve Bullich. And my name is Steve Bullich. I'm on the county board land use committee for 9 years. I'm also the chair of the Homer Township Planning Commission. And I understand land use. And I got to tell you right now that there isn't too many trustees or anybody on the planning commissions that really understand what land use means. There's a direct correlation, despite what we were told in the past, to what your comprehensive plan is, what the building codes are, and what the zoning codes are. And everybody that's experienced in land use understands that. But people that aren't experienced in it, they don't quite get it because there's too many moving parts. Jay Roti understands it. I've talked to him numerous times. The man gets what land use is. And if I start asking questions of the board here, they probably get pissed off at me. The mayor wouldn't probably know how to answer it even. I mean, I know stuff that lawyers don't know because I have to fight with lawyers on the county board. So when I tell you that Jay Roti is qualified, that's a lie. He's overqualified. And it would be a travesty not to put that man on that board. So please, please consider that. Next would be Adam Kopat.
Good evening. I'm here for the appointment of James Roti. I'm the superintendent at Tritech Electric based out of Romeoville. We do work for IDOT, tollway, municipalities, and we've been fortunate to have Jay at our organization, who has branched us out into many other avenues besides traffic signals and street lighting, such as commercial industrial work. He's got extensive knowledge, just not in just electrical, but construction in general, and he would be a perfect fit for this position. So I ask you to consider it, and thank you for your time.
Next one is Ron. It doesn't have a last name.
Pascal?
Maybe PA. We needed a few more letters.
PASCO. I've been a resident of Homer Glen for about 20 years now. It's in regards to Jay Roti. Jay's been a friend of mine for the 20 years that I've been here, and I can't think of anyone else capable of handling this position more than Jay. He goes above and beyond everything he does. He's a great family man and friend. Thanks, Jay.
Next would be Sarah Pavlik.
It's a pleasure to talk to you today, and I greatly appreciate your time and commitment to the village. I understand you're going to be talking about the appointment of Jay Roti to the Planning Commission, and I'm here to give my support for Jay in such a voluntary position. My experience working with Jay has mostly been on a home improvement project level. My husband and I hired Jay and his company to work on an extensive project at our house last year, and it's still ongoing. We knew of the Roti family from the dance studio, now it's Momentum, and karate for kids, where both of our sets of children attended. However, we only had limited interaction with them before this project. Jay and his family were just simply familiar faces. We hired Jay to do our electric, but the main reason we hired Jay was because of his vast construction knowledge and experience in dealing with the village and other trades. Jay often took extra time to explain the construction process and mechanical operation of some of the equipment that we purchased. Like many projects, not everything goes according to plan, and Jay specifically was one of the trades that we could always count on for guidance and advice on the right next step. One thing that I wanted to address is a comment that I have heard and read on Facebook, no less, unfortunately, that Jay is a bully and a misogynist. From my personal dealings with Jay, I can say that those two words are the farthest from the truth descriptions of him. I would rather describe Jay as being very personable, responsible, and community-focused. My husband is often traveling for work or working downtown, which leaves me to interact with the various trades that we have on the aforementioned project. Never once have I had an issue with Jay. He has always been very professional and thorough in his explanations to me, and never once have I felt uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, I called him once when some of the fuses blew and my Christmas lights all shut off. Of course, while my husband was out of town. And Jay took my call, he asked questions, and he troubleshot with me. He was certainly professional and helpful, and he assured me that my house would not burn down. In regarding his community focus, like some people mentioned earlier, I know that he helped with the flashlight Easter egg hunt for kids this spring. He recently also helped with the installation of a new sign in his subdivision. Obviously, he attends many meetings, and many years back, he volunteered to play pirate in the dad dance at the dance studio. There's video footage. In closing, I think anyone that is willing to volunteer his time to a committee and go through public scrutiny shows you the commitment they have to this community. And why should someone's opinion on Facebook mean any more than mine? Give Jay a chance on the committee. I strongly encourage you to appoint Jay to the Planning Commission based on his experience and his professionalism, and I believe that he would do a fine job.
Next would be Mary Ann Kyler.
I have known Jay and his family for over 20 years. They came to my dance studio and he helped me build the studios out every time I was moving around the neighborhood. He has been there for any volunteer work. He was super Mr. Mom, always at the studio when Karen was working. He was the best father and always there, always volunteered his time, set up stages, set up everything, and of course he did dance on stage, but I don't have to go there. But he was always there. He's a good, and he always helped me out, and he never was condescending. He always helped me. He even comes to my house when I call for emergency because I have electrical problems. He's a good friend. He's a great person in this neighborhood, and he would be vital for our town to grow better than what it is right now. It's better now. It's good now, but it could be better.
Thank you. Next would be Peter Katowitz.
Thank you. I'm not here for Roti, so I don't know. If you would like to finish off that, and I can go at the end, save these folks some time, but I'm here regarding the self-storage development on 159th Street. So again, I'm happy to speak about it now, or happy to come back when more appropriate during this meeting.
How about we do it at the end so we can let them?
Yes, sir.
So, thank you. Okay. Ryan, you put it on front and back. You did spell it on the back. Thank you. Tori Pasco.
She had to step out.
Okay. And then James and Terry Roti. Roti. No? All right. So it's James or Terry don't?
Mayor, she would like to stand right there.
Okay.
I just want to say something. I feel real good because I'm his mom. I like what everybody's been saying. And I got to tell you, it is all true. He is the hardest worker I have ever met in my life, besides my husband. So, I mean, I have
passes are also available at the Village Hall and at the Ace Hardware Store on 159th Street. If you purchase the Mega Pass before the fest, it's $55. The day of the fest, all 4 of those days being June 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th, it will then be $65. So make sure you get your Mega Passes for your kids early. The other thing is, I just want to say one comment. I wasn't going to say anything about Mr. Roti, but being that I love to hear everybody's opinion besides just seeing stuff on Facebook. It's refreshing. And I want to let everybody know, to back up what was said about Jay Roti, when we had 3 people quit on the fest, Jay was one of the first guys to step up to the plate and say, when you need me, I'll be there for you. So thank you. And what I'd like to also say is I hope we can make this appointment tonight for both of these items, 1 and 2, for Mr. Roti and for Bryan Kozor. I don't want to see us get politics in the way of progress, although that sounds like the direction that we're headed. I'm hoping you prove me wrong. Thank you, sir.
Next would be Trustee Rangers.
I have no report, Your Honor.
Next would be Trustee Piazmino.
I have no report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next would be Trustee Rogers.
No report.
Thank you. She's not here. Next would be Jennifer Consolino.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to wait for discussion about the appointments, but I think it's probably more appropriate that I say it now because of direct connection. Because there seems to be a lot of comments regarding Mr. Roti's appointment tonight and his character, I just want to say that Mr. Roti is a respectable, long-time resident of this community. He is also a long-time electrician and tradesman who has a vast institutional knowledge regarding building codes, construction, and development. I see this as an asset from a good standing resident who is looking to volunteer his time and to serve Homer Glen. We've had a few people unfortunately from our planning commission that have vocalized their opinions and emails against Mr. Roti's appointment. Mostly what I've heard on social media and what I've also seen in emails, they seem to be complaining about videos that he has done in jest, and that he acts as a comical parody, just like a Saturday Night Live skit. They don't campaign against the village, and they don't campaign against the village board members. Now, I'm a huge proponent of freedom of speech. However, I've unfortunately witnessed a member of our planning commission get up during public comment and campaign viciously against our new board members, including myself. I also witnessed them provide false information during that political speech. Politics should never be permitted in a committee. And this was just said to me last week at my public safety committee by one of my officials. When we are looking at appointments, this should never be a factor. I believe that a lot of the rhetoric and the attacks that I've been reading and hearing are simply just that, political. I would like our residents to know that our board members, like myself and those staff, are currently working to end the political nonsense and campaigning that has been taking place in our village for a very long time. Enough is enough. Our community is exhausted with this nonsense, and I am sincerely asking that our board allow our committee to be about our community, for our community. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Consolino. Next would be Village Clerk.
Trustee Lana is not here tonight, but I just want to remind everybody that Special Needs Day at Homerfest is June 24th between 2:30 and 4:30. And a special thank you to Papa Joe's and Joey's Red Hots for the donation of the free food for the special needs families, and to Konos Corn Maze, Brookfield Zoo, and Botanic Gardens for the free passes. I do want to turn the mic over to Mr. Woods if he has anything to say on behalf of Zoo.
As part of this, I also made contact with my former employer, Cook County Commissioner Sean Morrison. I don't know if anybody knows, he actually represents two vacant lots in Homer Glen. So Homer Glen is part of the 17th District of Cook County, and as such, I was able to request 100 Brookfield Zoo free passes to give out for the committee. And they also threw in 100 Chicago Botanic Garden, both parking and admission passes for that. So those will be given out through the Ability Awareness Committee.
And Mayor, if I could just add a brief update on the Pop Tab Challenge. We will be collecting the Pop Tabs on June 20th and doing the weigh-in and announcing the winners on June 24th at 5 o'clock on the stage.
Sounds good. Hopefully it gets better than we had last year by just a smidge. All right, next would be village attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
How about you, Kerry?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report.
Thank you. Public safety officials?
No report.
Village manager?
Hello, everybody. I do have a small report. I've been reaching in, talking with the sports groups. We're trying to get some stuff finalized with the field. Reached out with Stallions today. They are going to be starting their season July 25th. And then they go from August 20th to November 13th. We're preparing to still work on getting quotes for the well that is not working on the football field for water. John Robinson and myself are doing some due diligence on that work. And then the Royal Football Soccer Club is also going to be introducing 3 camps this year. And they were looking to do a special needs camp too. So just be aware that out there they're going to be posting these dates. It looks like it would be the week of July 11th, July 25th, and August 8th. And as we move forward with our sports groups, because they do a lot with our community and our youth groups in this area, we will be talking with the Park and Recreation Committee to get their consensus on moving forward with our commitment with them and what their goals and our expectations are to help facilitate our youth programs, which I think is a very big part of this community. I feel that that's our heart of our community. These my children grew up in this community and they have flourished with some of the awesome athletics and youth groups that we have in this area. And I'd just like to say that. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda. 1, consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of May 27th, 2022 through June 9th, 2022, as shown on the attached details. 2, consider for approval payment to the Village of Homer Glen's April legal bills from Mahoney Silverman and Cross LLC in the amount of $2,242.50. 3, consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's April legal bills from Legislative Attorney Odelson, Sturk, Murphy, Frazier, and McGrath Limited in the amount of $7,261.25. Last would be consider for approval pay estimate number 4 in the amount of $47,401.07 to PT Farrow for completion of sidewalk and curb repairs in the Country View subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Consolino?
Jennifer, did you hear that?
Aye.
Okay.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Casino?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next would be consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of May 27th, 2022 through June 9th, 2022, as shown on the attached details. Oh, that's consent. So we're going to go down one. Okay. Consider for approval the mayor's appointment of Bryan Kozor to serve. We move it up in front of it. This one. Consider for approval the mayor's appointment of James Roti to serve as a member of the village's Plan Commission. I still stand by what I said before. I've already said I will talk to Jay because a lot of stuff that was said tonight is not true. So I don't plan on voting for it tonight. I want to talk to him before I do anything. So is there anything else on that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
So I'm asking
if I may, you've read into the record the item on the agenda. Are you making the appointment or are you not making the appointment?
I am not making the appointment right now. I didn't put it on the agenda. I don't know
say
who
you
put
did.
it on
I
the agenda.
just asked a question whether you're making the appointment or not making the
And I
appointment.
told you I am not making the appointment right now.
I believe there should be some discussion since there's a motion, there's a second. I mean, is there a second?
I didn't make a motion.
Can we be allowed to finish the motion?
You are free to discuss this if you care to.
Thank you, sir.
We have to wait till the mayor reads the motion on it first.
He already read the item on the agenda. He read number one, or what is now number one. So you may discuss it.
So we have a
I'll
motion,
make that motion.
and I'll second. I'd like to say, and I left this for discussion here instead of my village report. What more can you say? Everything's been said by the people that came here to support Mr. Roti. I support Mr. Roti, my hands to the fire for him. He's a tremendous person, tremendous citizen, tremendous family man. What more can you ask for on a committee like that, as far as the planning commission? He's well versed in the development process, and he's very familiar with our ordinances. I believe, Mayor, and this is my bequeath to you, can you please consider Mr. Roti? Open your mind. Let's get past all the politics. Let's just put a qualified person in there. Somebody that's supported by the community and has what it takes to be diverse, open-minded, and bring a fresh perspective to the board. So I beg you, Mr. Mayor, to please appoint today Mr. Roti. Thank you.
And I'd like to also, in addition to that, just so everybody knows, the Planning Commission is governed by Ordinance 01018. The appointment by the village president with the advice and consent of the village board is what it takes. There are 7 members of that board. Right now, the community, our businesses are having a hard time hiring people to pay them to work. Here we have a gentleman from our community who wants to volunteer his time, and we've all volunteered. You know how difficult that is when you volunteer. But it's in your heart. And I believe it's in Mr. Roti's heart to help the community. He has all this support before us. We're hearing what a great guy he is, his background, how long he's lived in the village. And to turn that away today is a little confusing to me. But the thing is, if you go on with the ordinance also, this law goes on to say that one of the aforesaid 7 members being annually designated by the village president to serve as the chairperson of the planning commission. All members of the planning commission shall be residents of the village of Homer Glen and shall serve without compensation thereafter. So there's no money involved, it's volunteer. And when we have somebody working this hard to try and volunteer, it kind of confuses me when we can't even, businesses can't even get people to work for a paycheck. We also, on 10-3 under procedures, written minutes shall be kept of all proceedings of the Plan Commission, and an annual report describing the business of the Plan Commission for the preceding year and making recommendations for the forthcoming year shall be presented to the village board on or before May 31st of each year. That is why we put our committees together at the last meeting. Now, I don't know, I was never notified by the 31st from the Planning Commission. I know there are a few people on the Planning Commission that have voiced their opinion one way or another for Mr. Roti, but I asked those people on the Planning Commission that put their message forward out there, have you talked to Mr. Roti? Have you got to know Mr. Roti? Or have you just made kind of a decision without getting to know the man? So I'm still confused as to why we would push away somebody and make somebody fight so hard to volunteer. Thank you. That's my comment.
My comment about Mr. Roti, I have a story.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jen, if you want to go. Jen?
No, I just see where this is going tonight, and I just want to make a comment, and I know that people can barely hear me, but I just want to say thank you to Trustee Fialco for explaining the facts and for explaining exactly how the procedures are supposed to go. Now, in my own opinion, I would also like to apologize to the residents of Homer Glen that our mayor is physically politicking again on this board. And I am no longer going to tolerate it, so it's going to be a very long year ahead for everybody when this occurs. And I'm going to call it out every single time I see it or hear it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing I want to add to the discussion is under 10.2 of that same ordinance, any member of the planning commission may be removed at any time by the village board at any time for any cause deemed sufficient, therefore by the village board. We have never done that to anybody. I mean, everybody has had their opinions. We've had people come up from the planning commission to the podium and say what they had to say, freedom of speech. You're willing to say what you... We have never used anything in that under 10.2 to harm that board or that planning commission, and we have let them do their thing. So now I think it's time to step up to the plate and do the right thing and bring Mr. Roti in. Thank you.
Ms. Ryder.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say that I do support this appointment of Jay Roti. I think the volunteers in this community are the backbone of this community, and this is what really keeps our community together. And I think my remembering of Jay Roti is this year. I haven't known him for a very long time, but I do know of all those Easter eggs that he had in the back of his truck. And he did that on his own. Nobody asked him to do that. They paid for all the Easter eggs themselves. So if that isn't an example of somebody that cares about their community, then I don't know what is.
Is there anyone that has anything to say?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, you know, Mr. Roti, am I saying your name right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, he himself said he didn't have an interview. George hasn't had a chance to sit down and talk to him. And so I think that out of respect for also the planning committee members, as Dan said, they have concerns, and I think in all fairness to Mr. Roti and the planning committee, that we should get them together so that they can discuss it, because we did hear from the majority that they had some concerns about these videos, and I think that in all fairness, they should get together so that if he is approved, he doesn't go onto a board that doesn't really want him there. Let them sit down and talk about it, and let the mayor interview. You know, he is an interviewer. I don't know who called him and asked him if he was interested in it, because it wasn't him. But I think in fairness to both sides, Mr. Roti should have an opportunity to speak to these videos that everybody is so concerned about in private with the mayor. And some of us who have some concerns about them and what the intent was or why they were made. Because while there are a lot of people here supporting him, and I think the problem is the people who don't support him are afraid to come because they'll have a video potentially made of them.
I've been available for an interview since I submitted the resume in November.
Right.
I've been available so far.
Right, and I don't know if anybody else was, we weren't giving copies of anybody's resumes. The only resume that I received was Friday was yours. And it's a very impressive resume, very impressive. So we didn't have a chance to look at that. So I just think that in fairness to both sides, you know, this vacancy, it's been vacant for a long time. I think, you know, the professional thing to do is to allow the mayor and Mr. Roti to meet, let those of us that want to sit down and talk meet, and then most importantly, the planning committee members who are opposed to this, let them sit down and so they can express their concerns, and perhaps Mr. Roti can assure him of what his intent is, what his intent was in doing the videos, and then we can all move forward on a much more gentle and kind playing field. So he's not saying no to this. What he's saying is he's not ready to make an uneducated appointment because he hasn't had the opportunity to really have a conversation.
That's a fair statement, Trustee Rogers. I don't want to cut you off, I don't know when you finish. I know what it's like to be on a board that you're not wanted on, because it happened to me, I dealt with it for 2 years. So I don't think Mr. Roti would have a problem with that. I think he's going to speak from his heart. I think he's going to speak from experience. He's going to take his years of development and the trades, and he's going to put it to good use on this committee. My question is why we waited so long to address it. It wasn't an issue before. It was submitted on December 31st. He met the deadline just like he should have. And now we're disputing it.
I wasn't given any resumes.
The old village manager that was here before, Matt Walsh, had his resumes. What they did with them at that point, I don't know if they went to any other departments, sat on somebody's desk. That's not Mr. Roti's fault. The majority of the board is asking. My hands to the fire for this man. I'm sure everybody else here, we would not put somebody's name out there if we weren't sure that they would be able to do the job. Let's take the politics out. Now, before you asked, you're saying that we should take it to all these people, and all of a sudden all these applicants are coming out of the woodwork. After what, 5-6 months, all of a sudden we're getting applicants coming in and submitting their resumes. Mr. Rodi's and I believe another person were the only two sitting on somebody's desk that nobody bothered to look at. It's not their fault, it's not right. So I ask, I say, fine, you guys want to be fair? They talk to everybody. It seems like everybody already spoke with the Planning Commission. Planning Commission already pretty much, if you read the letters that they put out, was kind of stamped. Everybody said the same thing. It was rehearsed, in my opinion, I don't know. We had the chairman of the Planning Commission pretty much on the first week of the new board come, stand right there, and pretty much insult everybody here. So we know where that's going to go. Let's stop passing the buck, and let's make the decision, Mayor. Mayor, you and I made an agreement. We said we were going to move forward. We were going to move forward for this village. There's, how many people are on the Planning Commission?
There's supposed to be 7.
7. So one person is not going to destroy the village. You heard 80% of this room say, sir, please appoint him. He's the man that we want. We're always talking about doing what the people want, doing what the voters want. Well, let's do it. What are we waiting for? Sir, I implore, please, select Jay Roti, put him where he belongs. Let's get moving, because we don't meet again until the end of July. Are we going to wait till August, September, maybe next year? Sir, we're not willing to do that.
I see one person from the Planning Commission here,
Yes,
Mr.
can we
McCary. If I could ask you a question, right now, how many people are you short on the Planning Commission?
1.
Just the one, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how long has that vacancy been?
Probably a year.
A year. Okay. Thank you very much. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to get clarity. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd
Now,
also like
my
to
turn.
put out 2 facts. Mr. Roti applied, put in his application in a timely fashion. It's now been over 8 months. 8 months. Also, what Trustee Rogers has suggested does not follow our ordinance. We do not allow the committee to do that. That is usually up to a chairperson to decide. So, again, I'm going to point out a factor. This is extremely political.
Okay, my turn. First of all, I never said no. I never said no. I told you I wanted to look into a couple things. Second, I never saw the resumes for anybody until last Friday night. Third, all the resumes right now are old, and there have been more that have come before us. I told staff to send out more info to get more resumes, because what we're looking at right now it's a little extinct, and I want the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about you for right now. So there's a bunch of rhetoric over here saying that this is what I'm doing and I'm trying to make this political. There is no political. I was on a planning commission. I knew exactly what was going to happen on this. And some of the ones that were even sent to us, they shouldn't have sent them to us. They would not fit, and what I have always done since I became the mayor, I got all the resumes. I read every resume for the people that put in an offer to volunteer for us. From there, I would make my notes of what I thought about it. Then I would turn it over to the Planning Commission, because the Planning Commission that we've had since we started as a village has always been a very good one. So When it came time for me to read them and give them to them, I did. I just gave the rest of all the resumes to the board, to the committee. Because they're the one that's going to be working with them, not me. They would. I don't want to shove anyone down anyone's throat of here, this guy's going to be on this committee. Whether he likes it or not, this is the one that's going to be on it. So I've always left it up to all the committees to put the people on that they're comfortable with, because that's the fair thing to do. So when someone's telling you that I'm trying to hide something or I'm trying to be political, they're off the rocker. I'm trying to do the best I can to get the best of the people that we can get in here too. And right now, also in the last few weeks, I don't know why it did come out. I don't follow Facebook. I don't believe in Facebook. I think the Facebook is an absolute, it's the devil. Everyone can say whatever they want, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it except think, well, I don't know, maybe it's true. So that's why I told you, I will talk to you after the meeting. I have no issue with it. I didn't want to get stuck in the middle of something with Ruben asking me, could you talk to him, could you talk to him, could you talk to him? Yeah, I will talk. But we're going to talk. There's no sense in getting everyone involved in this. And at the end of the day, if I appoint you, I appoint you. If I don't, I have a reason, I'll give you a reason. If my reason's wrong, then I'll fix it.
Mr. Mayor, may I address you for just a moment, please? With respect to the ordinance creating the Plan Commission, you make the appointment.
I did.
If you don't make the appointment, the board can't vote. However, the appointment is not with the advice and consent of the members of the Plan Commission. The appointment is with the advice and consent of the people who were elected as trustees to serve this village. Those people are telling you they want this individual. My sense is, and I don't know Mr. Roti, I wouldn't have known him if he stood next to me until this evening, but my good common sense tells me that this group of trustees is going to have a very difficult time accepting no for an answer or accepting anyone to fill this one spot that has been open now, according to another member of the Plan Commission, for a year. So when you say you want to talk to the Plan Commission, you can do that until you know what freeze is over. But this group of people are the ones that have to give you the consent. So I would suggest that if you are looking for opinions, your opinions should come from them and not from members of the Plan Commission, who will actually do what they've been doing probably since this village was first organized.
Okay, if that's the case, then why don't we let me do what I just informed everyone that should be done? I didn't put your name on that. If I would have put your name on it, I would have known a lot more about this. But I did not do that. See, unfortunately, here in the village, the people here, they say, well, here, this goes on the agenda. You know, when I get it the Friday before. They don't tell me what's on the agenda. So if I don't know anything about it, I can't look into it. So I'm not trying to be short on anything. I like to be as fair as I can. I like to dig in on everything that's out there if there is anything floating. And right now there is some things floating. But I'm not going to bring it up right now because it's none of anyone else's business. It's your business and my business right now. We go over it, we get everything ironed out, I'll put you on the committee. I already told you that. But I did not know anything about this until last Friday. I take that back. Ruben told me, I think, sometime last Wednesday about it, but I never got any copies of anything. So I didn't know who you were. You know, there's a lot of people in this village, I might have talked to you before. I can't remember every single solitary person that comes up to me. I'm pretty good with faces, names, no.
I figured you knew my face, but you didn't know my name.
Yeah. And you said it was over a year ago? Lots happened in the last year.
No, I filled out the application.
Oh, but even there, like I said, I didn't see the resume until last Friday night. That's when I saw it.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Well, that's why I want to sit down and talk to you.
Sir, I just want to be correct. correct too, under 10.3. The recommendations that they're talking about under 10.3 are supposed to come from the planning commission themselves by May 31st each year. Resumes were submitted in December, by December 31st, I believe it was said. Would there be a reason why the commission wouldn't have got you this information by May 31st as the code calls for?
Well, it's hard to do it on this 8th of June.
That's what I'm asking. Why May 31st is the date you were supposed to have the information by from that committee?
Okay, and who gets it? Who gets the information, Dan?
I'm asking you if you understand why the commission didn't get you that information that it calls for.
The commission doesn't, the commission had no papers on it either. They didn't get the papers until I brought them to them.
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know if you read 10.3 procedure, but the commission itself, the planning commission, is supposed to have that report to you and to this village board by May 31st. Again, resumes were put out by December 31st, but yet here we are in June talking about it. And I'm just wondering if there was any conversation that would make us understand better why we're talking about it in June when this should have been talked about a little bit earlier.
I agree completely. But it wasn't. It was last Friday.
We don't know why, I guess, is what comes up.
No, I don't know why. Ruben, when did you come to me and tell me?
Oh, it's for the commission to come and tell you.
No, it isn't. The commission.
Yes, it is.
Sir, and I agree with you. I don't want to carry on anymore with this, but I will say a couple of things. If it were up to me, December 31st comes up. Probably I think all our commissions are equally important, don't get me wrong, but planning commission's pretty much up there. My first conversation with the chair is, hey, do you have everybody you need? No? Okay. So next in line, village manager or whoever's in charge, hey, do we have any applications in? So my question is, was the question asked? Are there any applications? Was that asked? I know you want to blame it on me for coming to you last Wednesday, but that's kind of something you're the appointer, right? We've established that. I would have been all over it.
Ruben, I'm the appointer, whatever you need me to be the appointer, and you asked me if I would guide you in that direction.
Sir, but it's your task with it. That's something that you look into.
You know what, Jay, you up to talking tonight?
I'm here.
All right, we'll talk after this meeting's over. We're not going to take, I'm not putting a vote on it right now.
It's your call, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, it is.
Can I say something, please? I just want it on the record for everyone, for our clerk to write down, and for everybody in our community to know. I think this is a complete sham. I think this is ridiculous. We are not following our ordinance yet again, and this is something that I'm going to get more and more bitter about, and something that I'm going to fight for even harder for transparency and accountability going forward. That's what I would like on the record. You can say whatever you want there. I do not believe that you didn't know until last week about the people that applied, because you also gave out names to trustee Casmino that none of us were ever told by the former village manager that had applied. Just saying.
Just saying. You guys give me the agenda, and that's what I do.
I'd like to ask council, Carrie, being that there was the motion, it was first and seconded, but in this situation, usually we vote on something, but it's the mayor's appointment. How should we proceed forward with this based on the conversation?
The mayor has not made an appointment, and pursuant to statute, state statute, and your village ordinance, the mayor must make the appointment before you can vote and have that person become a member of the Plan Commission. You can all express your opinion, you could all say what you want, but it's the mayor who must first make the appointment. So you can't proceed on the motion because he will not make the appointment.
So the motion basically dies.
The motion at this point in time is no longer effective because the mayor has not made an appointment to allow you to act on it. When he makes that appointment, you can then act in any manner that you determine is appropriate.
Okay. All right. All right, so, next one is consider for approval the mayor's appointment of Bryan Kozor to serve as the chairman of the village's planning commission. It's understood that Mr. Kozor's appointment is for 1 year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
The motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay. Seems like they don't care about having someone in there either.
What that means is if Mr. Kozor is on the Plan Commission, of course, he remains on the Plan Commission. It's just that the mayor's choice at this point in time to have him appointed as chairperson of the Plan Commission. I presume he appointed him. The motion has failed because there is no second. So items 1 and 2 are no longer being acted upon in any fashion by this board this evening.
So,
Thank you,
just
Terry.
a logistical question, who runs the planning committee meetings now?
Whoever is the chairman until they are either replaced or they resign or they are removed,
Okay,
will continue in that position.
thank you.
Okay, consider a motion to approve one of 5 resurfacing companies that submitted price bids for the May 17, 2022 bid opening for the Village of Homer Glen Road resurfacing projects for 2022. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion and I'll second.
Discussion.
I'd just like to thank Director Brent Woods for all the hard work he put in to this bidding process. We talked about it in A&F, and deconstruction, I believe, is the lowest bidder. What we all talked about is MTF funds that is used to resurface the roads in Homer Glen have to go to the lowest bidder. So it looks like deconstruction will be moving forward with taking care of it, correct?
That is correct. I also verified for you that deconstruction is a union company.
Yes. There was one thing that I wanted to find out though, because we, in the road surfacing program last year, we had a lot of problems. And I just want to make sure that when we get deconstruction and they're bidding on a job or any of these 5, that they're coming out as a company to do the work for our village and not taking and hiring a subcontractor to fill some quota of theirs, and then we end up with work that is not the quality that we expect in our village. And I'm only saying that because we had this problem last year. And I know oversight was a little bit of it, but it might be a combination of the two. But just having a clearer understanding of who's going to be doing the work. Is it deconstruction, or are they taking our small contract? In my eyes, $1.5 million for that company is a small contract. And to move forward, if they're having other companies, they subcontract it out to do their smaller jobs, and we end up being that smaller job. I just want to make sure that that's not what's happening.
Yeah, we can address all of them in the pre-con meetings, which well, hopefully we'll be scheduling within the next month.
What it comes down to is we're looking for quality for the money we're spending from the contractors that we're hiring, and that's what it comes down to. Thank you very much.
For clarification, I think you need to reflect in the motion that you're awarding the contract to deconstruction.
Yes, I had made that motion, and I am making that motion to award the deconstruction the lowest bid on the motion. I don't think we have a choice though on that.
No, you don't, but the motion just said, motion to approve one of 5 contracts. I want to make sure we're submitting it for deconstruction at $1,208,640.90. So that's it.
Director Woods, we did mention in A&F that there would probably be a little better oversight on some of the construction, just to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch, and at the end, everything's done to our standard before a check goes out.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Next, consider approval number 22-020, an ordinance requesting an extension of the ordinance 21-025, the granting, one, an amendment in the planned unit development with an exception to reduce the required parking from 267 spaces to 149 spaces. Site plan approval, and three, a variance to exterior construction standards for certain real property located in the C3 General Business District at the 15624 Marion Drive, Homer Glen, Illinois.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Melissa, with this and everything that's spelled out, nothing has changed in here from the original draft, correct?
No, you're correct, you're right.
Okay, and because it does say they're requesting an extension on something that was passed by this board before.
Correct.
And,
1 year ago tomorrow.
okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay. Motion carries over. Roll call, please.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? And Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-021, an ordinance creating a position for Public Works Director.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
About time.
Sorry, I missed who made the motions.
I made the motion.
And Ruben second.
Thank you.
At this point, we're just formalizing the position. We came in and, you know, we just want to make sure that everything's kosher. Thanks, sir.
Yes, if we roll back the clock just a little bit, we did not have a Public Works Director ordinance put together, or it was not made as part of our ordinance because we never had a Public Works Director, though we are lucky to have one now, and he's doing a great job. But I just wanted to make sure that we have it on the books as an ordinance for that position. So that.
And in the future, I believe that before we even consider a position of this as a director, we need to have an ordinance in place prior to.
Be a good idea.
We do have an ordinance now. We have that ordinance already. That took place after that hiring. And now this is kind of like part B to what took place earlier last year. So,
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-022, an ordinance authorizing implementation of temporary no parking zones and providing penalties for the violation thereof.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there discussion?
Discussion. This, just so everybody knows why this was put together with this no parking zones. Several times when there were events held in the village, there were certain streets that the residents or the business or otherwise had asked for them to be closed. And legally, we could not do that because we did not, and it couldn't be enforced. We could say no parking here, but there was no enforcement to back it up. So this ordinance, the way it was put together, is if there was a broken pipe in the street and the police department or the village manager or the police department decide that they need to block off the street, they can now put up no parking signs and enforce that, the placement of those signs. If there's Konos is having something, and one of the streets over there had to be blocked off, or Benston Farm had to have, I think it's Rosary, as the entrance blocked off, and the other one is during the fest on Eagle Ridge. So now we have the flexibility to use this ordinance, if it passes, to basically shut down one side of the street, the whole street, depending on what's taking place. And that, I think this is, I'm actually surprised we didn't have something like this before. Thank you to Brent Woods and helping kind of put that together, and also Carmen Morella and Carrie Horvath for drafting this and making it kind of a universal ordinance so it works in many different aspects. for the village.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
And Trustee Consolino?
Motion carries. Next, consideration of resolution number 22006, a resolution to file objection to rezoning for Will County ZC-22-015, PIN number 16-05-17-400-023-0000, 16-5-17, 400-024, 0000, 16-05-17, 400, 025, 0000.
So,
I have a motion.
I will second it.
Do we have an opportunity to share information with you on that? Is that possible?
Hold off his comments until.
Yeah, could you please tell us your
Yeah.
name and who you represent?
Yeah, so my name's Peter Ktovich. My wife and I are under contract and developing this property. It is a unincorporated property, but does fall within kind of the planning area of Homer Glen. So in any case, we already been neighbors. We attempted to bring this in front of the board during the beginning of the development. So even though it goes to the county, back in early December, I spoke with the mayor, gave the call to the mayor, explained we were developing this property, and wanted to speak with someone. He recommended, gave me the phone number to Matt Walsh, whom I called, and on 3 successive weeks, basically, had left a voicemail explaining we're looking to develop this property. It's unincorporated. We'd like to bring it to the village, and never heard back or heard anything. So this has been progressing through the county, and it's only until by accident yesterday that I found out about this meeting. So I figured maybe it's pertinent to drop off some information for you. I don't know how much you know or don't know about the project. But figured I'd maybe explain it to you and then, be here to answer. It is our family business, so I'm more than happy to. I can talk about this for hours, but I just want to be brief and kind of give you a quick rundown, answer any questions, so you guys maybe have any data you need on it to make any sort of vote on it.
Melissa, could you maybe reiterate what you had spoke to us at the previous meeting when we made this recommendation?
Sure. The village received notification from Will County that there was a hearing to be held on this project. The request is to rezone property that's within our planning boundary and actually contiguous to our boundary line from A1 and C2 to I1, light industrial zoning. The proposal is for a self-storage facility with climate control and open covered
Yeah, boat and RV storage, so fully enclosed, covered, and open.
A mix of that. And as staff, I circulated this amongst our staff and our village manager for kind of some early feedback on it, as we normally do with these 1.5 mile reviews. And there was concern about this project when, along our 159th corridor, it's envisioned as being kind of a mixed-use corridor with multi-purpose commercial uses and high-quality development, employment opportunities. So there was concern with that, it not meeting our vision of the corridor. And then there's also concern with it being really spot zoning because there's nothing around this area in contiguity that's also industrial. There is Kettler, I believe, just down the road to the east that's industrial. There is history with the village, I believe in 2019, formally objecting with a resolution to the expansion of that industrial zoning on that property as well. So those were the kind of high-level things that we brought forward to you. We did submit a letter already to the to Will County, to the Planning Commission that I believe was presented at the Planning Commission meeting after we got your approval at the last meeting. So this is the formality that's required if there's going to be a formal objection.
If I'm to understand you correctly, this board gives their opinion, but it really comes down to the Will County board. This piece of property is township property, is it not?
Correct, it's unincorporated Will County.
And I'm saying that I kind of know, but I'm just kind of spelling it out. It belongs to the township, so we give our opinion, no matter what our opinion is, it still falls back on the Will County Board as to what happens with this property.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
And to clarify, Trustee Fialko, what this does, if this resolution were to pass and the village were to file it with the Will County Clerk, is it forces a supermajority vote on the Will County Board on this item. So that's what this formality would do. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko, and Melissa, thanks for clarifying that.
I've got a supplement to the county staff report. Can I hand this out to the board members so you guys can get an idea of what's actually going in there?
Sure.
Thank you.
And if anybody in the...
Did you say at first, sir, that you were under contract already?
Correct,
Can you
yeah.
explain to the board what you mean by that?
So essentially, when you develop a property, you don't just purchase the property, you have to go under contract and develop it to get through the proper zoning and procedures. And then once those are in place, that's when you finalize the purchase of the property. So basically, we're under contract to purchase the property, to go through this, develop it, and purchase it.
So you don't own the property yet?
Not at this point, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the property, what we're building here is a Class A traditional self-storage and boat and RV storage facility. So essentially, what this facility is a premium high-quality storage facility. So typically when folks think self-storage, there's a stigma in grass, gravel lots, kind of that cheap kind of property. If you take a look at the photos that I have here, so my wife and I have developed and built pretty much this exact same facility. This will be our second location. So you can take a look at the photos there. That's at the very end and on the front page is what we built in Volo, so it's about an hour north of us. And then it's basically carbon copy of what we're doing here on 159th Street. But in any sense, like I said, it's a quality facility, so we're talking double-digit millions of dollars for this facility. It's a beautiful facility, high-end in every aspect. We're the only Class A facility of this type in Illinois. Pretty common in Florida, Arizona, Texas, etc. I know there's some concerns always with self-storage. Tax is always a big issue. So the board is aware. Essentially, large developed property like this does have a substantial real estate tax bill. And so we pay a lot of money and we don't utilize a lot of resources. Second to that, a lot of folks don't know that in 2019, there's parking excise tax, so essentially sales tax on parking that begun in this state. Majority of our facility is recreational vehicle storage, as you can see from the photos. So there is a nice tax base there from the, I guess you could say, recurring monthly sales of our product. And so essentially, the staff report, though, had 28 foot on there, and I know there's some discrepancy, dispute about building 30-foot warehouses on this property. I assure you that is not what we're doing here. If you take a look at page 2, that's sort of a layout of exactly what the facility looks like. Basically, the county did sort of a blanket 28-foot because the office is as big as it is. It's typical new construction, 16-foot clearance on the inside, modern, open, exposed ducting, all that, peak roof. So that's how that gets us to the max height, but the buildings themselves are considerably shorter than that. So in any case, if you guys have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, I could talk for hours on this, so I'd rather turn it over to you to see if there are any questions at all.
Well, does everyone want to take a look at this for a little while, rather than trying to take it all in tonight? Or do you want to discuss anything on it?
This is time sensitive, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. Oh, objections? Oh. Janie may be able to tell us exactly, but I believe that there are also a number of adjacent property owners that are formally objecting. Is that correct?
I understand I understand at least one adjacent property owner trying to object.
Yeah, I can speak to that if you'd like. So objection came from Larry, who is the owner of the property with the Amish furniture store and he's also got the landscape business on there with the outdoor parking, outdoor storage yard for their landscaping stuff. So I do know Larry well. Actually, we looked at purchasing that property as it was for sale, and this is the area for this product. Unfortunately, we were not, so he knew what we were doing, not exactly 100% as we can't, basically for, market reasons, we can't give up what we're building where, when, but essentially he was aware of a similar product that we're putting up. We ended up not purchasing that property from him. We walked away from the deal. He did come back to us a few months later offering the property again. So he was aware. However, we decided to attempt to purchase the property that was next door, and that's the one we're under contract on. So I can go into a lot of details about that objection, but the base of it is that he was willing to sell us the property to do what we were going to do. Unfortunately, we walked away from that deal, and so we expected an objection from him.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you have the planning hearing last night?
We did, yeah. So it did pass.
It did pass?
It did
Okay.
pass, correct, yes. Yeah, so I think for the board anywhere, or at least, let's just say the citizens of the village, aesthetics is a big one. So if you take a look at the facility aesthetics, I think page 6, you can kind of see that there, maybe in the last page, or third to last. So in any case, the aesthetics of the facility far exceed the standards that the village would have, both from landscaping and street view aesthetics of the buildings. To be quite frank, just the siding on the office is well over $100,000. And I assure you, I've never heard of a self-storage facility that has spent that type of money on siding alone. So it is a beautiful facility. In fact, when we built in Volo, we're set up a little bit on top of a hill. And one of the board members, the trustees there, once told me that she now refers to that as the trophy on top of the hill because it's so beautiful. We get a lot of calls to our facility, and they lead with, "Are you that really nice place on Route 12?" And we always smile and say, "Absolutely, that's us. We know that's us because we're that beautiful facility on Route 12." So from an aesthetic standpoint, from the road, this is a beautiful facility. 159th Street is the high point, and the whole property drops significantly towards the back. So you can't see anything from the road that's back there. That's done on purpose. And then also, as you can see on page 2, the diagram, the illustration of what it'll look like. We have every intention of keeping as much bordering trees as we can to block out the neighbors, so it's not seen from the neighbors. That's the same what we've done in Volo. You can see that in the aerial view on that. So essentially blocked out from the sides, blocked out from the front, beautiful front. In the rear, we've got about 10 acres of wooded land. So this is the wooded land that abuts the Homer Glen property. Essentially, it's actually the forest preserve that it abuts by the creek. We have no intention of developing that forest preserve and would contact, that wooded area would contact the forest preserve about any interest they may have in that. Essentially, that'll be retained green space as far as we can tell forever, so.
Is the Volo location your only location?
It is, yeah. So Volo is our first location, this will be our second.
And is that the one that's on the...
Correct, that's the one that's pictured there, and that's the one that we're carbon copying here. Essentially, we're using most of the same engineering, architecture, and all that we use there, just transplanting it. Obviously, some changes for elevation and all that, because we must develop and grade the land that we have here, but this is what it will look like. Yep. Thank you. No problem.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Vezmino?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Is there any old business? Is there any new business? We have one on here, discussion regarding amending ordinance number 20-036, an ordinance amending solicitation of certain times, Article 2, peddling and soliciting of Chapter 83, business operations of the Code of the Village of Homer, Glen.
So moved.
It's just, yeah, this is just a new business.
Do you want to start?
Yes, I would. And the reason I brought this back up was, I honestly just think that the timing for it, I think we discussed in the last meeting, I know I don't like it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, a lot of our residents that just don't like people knocking at your door at 8:30 at night. I think it's dangerous. I think the sign of the times right now, nobody wants anybody at their door knocking at 8:30. I know there's legal ramifications for that, but to be honest with you, you can't put a price on a human life. If something happens to somebody, I don't want to be the one reporting it to somebody's family, calling somebody at work saying something happened. The elderly are susceptible, young ones are susceptible. I've just seen too many nasty things. And to be honest with you, if it comes to a lawsuit versus somebody's life or somebody's safety, I'm always going to cite your safety first. So that's what I have.
On August 26, 2020, what we're talking about is the ordinance that was changed on that date. It was number 4 on the agenda, ordinance 20-036, amending the solicitation at certain times, Article 2, peddling and soliciting, Chapter 83, business operations of the Code of the Village of Homer, Glen. When that was done, we had 4 people say yes and 3 people said no. At that time, the people that said no, the 2 that are here are Trustee Rogers and Trustee Casmino. So I think it's valid to bring this back up. I know that freedom of speech has been talked about, but you know what? You have rights with your house. Freedom of speech ends at the sidewalk. It doesn't end at your front door. And then if we're saying it's freedom of speech, well, freedom of speech, if we're using that argument, you're telling me at 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody's got the right to come and knock on my door because they've got freedom of speech? Freedom of speech with that type of operation with the business ends at your sidewalk. And then you have rights with your property too. So we're trying to correct this and make it so you don't have solicitors knocking on your door at 9 o'clock at night, which that's what it allows to right now. I believe it was changed from 5 to 9, correct? So that was changed from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I don't know, in this discussion, this is what this is about. I don't know what we'd like to change it back to. Dusk, a certain time, or I was even thinking we could increase the fee for those solicitors to come out and knock on the door. But I don't want anybody to forget, in the meantime, while we're putting this together, this sticker right here is given free by the village. And if this sticker is on your house, on the front door, they're not supposed to knock on your door. They're supposed to bypass your resident and move on to whoever may not have this. So if you do not want somebody knocking on your door, that come to the village hall, get your free sticker, put it on your front door so it's viewable by the person that's doing the soliciting. In the meantime, I'm 100% for making this right. And however this board thinks would be the correct action, I'm willing to listen.
I have a few suggestions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to give you some insight into the date that, August 26th, when it was passed and the reasons behind it. But
I understand that the argument was, there was some case law that said, Supreme Court said, yeah, somebody could knock on your door at 8:59 at night, okay? The company that sued for freedom of speech won, while the residents lost, okay? So we're scared of that, I guess. We don't want to get sued. And I'm not sure, when was that case law, when did that happen?
Let me back up, because this wasn't a Supreme Court saying people can go up to this. Basically, there were a couple cases that are federal district court cases. One of them was in Watsika.
You know the date? Remember the date?
That was back in, I do, I have it pulled up right here. That was actually back in 86, though.
1986.
Correct. The solicitation hours were exactly the same as the villages, 9 to 5. And in that situation, the federal court, the appellate court said, that is not narrowly tailored to meet the public interest. 5 o'clock is too limiting, to use the best way to describe it. And the ordinance for the village of Watsika is incorrect. It's illegal. It violates the First Amendment. That's what the court said. Similarly, in 2014, there's a case, also federal district for our jurisdiction. This one was in Indiana, and in that one, their law said, the solicitation ordinance said, you can go till 9 o'clock or daylight ends, or basically dusk. Again, the court said, not having an exact time and also limiting, whichever is earlier, it said, that provided a problem because, again, it infringed upon freedom of speech. I agree with you that I don't like the idea of somebody coming to your door. But what spurred this and what brought this to a head was there was a company that wanted to solicit that came to the village, got their solicitor's license, and wasn't happy with the 5 o'clock. They talked about it, they objected, and one of the things they pointed out was they've been in this situation before. They've sued those villages or cities, and they've won based on these cases. And then the Watsika case was right on point. It's the exact same powers that the village had.
Have you followed any of their lawsuits to see what they ended up with in the settlement? When they made the claim, you know, that company made the claim that was here. Did you follow up on any of their suits to see what the results were from their suits?
Well, correct, yeah. There was one, in fact, in Colorado that they sued, and they won. I don't remember what that was. I don't recall that. I don't recall that. But regardless, the point was, there is a case that said 9 to 5, limiting it to 9 to 5. Federal appellate court said that is unreasonable and it's improper.
Okay.
So I mean, yes, you can tinker with it, you can change it, but the case law, and I don't know, Mr. Horvath probably has some additional cases that, but I think that the limitation here is they look at it as freedom of speech, and he said it ends at the sidewalk. Yes, you as a resident can say, I don't want solicitors, you put the sticker on the door, you have that right. But if there's no sticker on the door, the courts have said, I have the freedom of speech, whatever, whether it's a charity, political, whatever it is, I'm going door to door. I have the right, under freedom of speech, to approach that house and talk to them. And if you want to limit that in some way, it's a narrowly tailored, it has to be, it's a very, very strict test as to what you can do to restrict that freedom of speech. So these courts have said 5 o'clock doesn't do it, daylight ending doesn't do it. Those are not narrowly tailored because they've said, where's the evidence that there's a problem here?
Okay, I understand.
Is there evidence of more criminal activity because you're letting people solicit after 5 o'clock or after dusk? That kind of thing. The courts have said, you haven't shown us any evidence that there's a problem that you would have to, that you're restricting this freedom of speech. So that's where we're coming.
In that conversation, I understand freedom of speech has been said a lot, and you said the courts kind of mentioned it, but didn't really address it.
Well, no, they didn't know they mentioned it. Freedom of speech is the overriding factor here. They said, okay, you as a solicitor have the freedom of speech to approach someone's house and speak with them.
Where does the right of the homeowner begin and end?
The right of the homeowner begins and ends with the homeowner. All right. First of all, with the sticker. I won't say that Mr. Hanson and I agree on everything, but on this one, I agree 100%. In this circuit of the federal circuits, it has been the law, as expressed by the courts since 1980, that 9 o'clock is about as far as you're going to be able to go in 9 p.m. in restricting solicitation. The courts have also, there was a recent decision, a Supreme Court decision involving the village of Schaumburg, okay, where this is the United States Supreme Court. And the idea is that you have to come up with the least restrictive means if you're going to restrict solicitation at the door at all. And as Mr. Hanson said, you have to have evidence that the activity you're prohibiting is necessary, okay? And as he indicated, you have to be able to show that crime, number one, that there is crime. Number two, that it's caused by solicitation at the door. And then number three, that it's more prevalent after a certain time. The courts are very, very protective of the First Amendment. And most recently in Springfield, the Circuit Court, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals determined that the Springfield panhandling ordinance was unconstitutional because it treated panhandling for money today when you walk out on the street and ask for it differently than if you put a sign up and say, would you send money to such and such by mail or something to that effect. The courts are incredibly restrictive at this point in time. Your ordinance that was prepared over the years, and it has been slightly amended, your ordinance does have a registration requirement for solicitors. It has very specific things that they must do in order to obtain permission or to register to solicit. Those are things that are permitted. The courts have been very clear. If you put up that little sticker and I see that sticker, I can't come and knock on your door then. Then I'm on notice, but that's the homeowner's choice. And another point that the courts have made is the homeowner may want to hear what the individual has to say. And communities and community boards are allowed to an extent to protect residents in the community, but you can't overprotect. And that's why they've drawn the line at this point in time at 9 o'clock. One of the cases involved in the Seventh Circuit here, which I think 26 communities were sued. It was the Citizens for a Better Environment suing Olympia Fields and 25 other communities. It didn't involve the solicitation of money per se. They came to the door to tell people about whatever their purpose was in terms of protecting the environment. And they said if they were successful at all, the hours where they were most successful was between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and they proved that. And the court said, in communities, 26 of them, the ones that still stood up and fought, said, you have proved nothing other than that you've passed an ordinance. You have no proof of any of the things that we want you to be able to show us. The big hit isn't necessarily in damages that get paid to the organization that may file the suit or the individual who may say, I have a right to be at that doorstep. It's in the attorney's fees that are incurred, not only to defend the village, but for the individual who sues the village. Because if they're successful, if they win $1, but they make their point of view, if they're successful and they get the injunction, then you're looking at some very, very serious money, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so your ordinance goes about as far as it can at this point in time to set limits and to set requirements for the people or the entities that come in to solicit. But neither Eric nor I can advise you to go any further at this point in time.
Well,
because
maybe
you're walking into harm's
maybe
way.
there is something. Under 83-9 solicitation registration requirement, what is the highest fee that we can put on a solicitation permit?
It has to be related in some fashion to whatever the cost might be to monitor this. It should be a very low amount, because because there are many entities and many individuals who can establish that they have a point of view, but they don't have money to pay to the village to have the right to express that point of view. So you can't use money or the cost of a license or a registration as a deterrent to the exercise of speech.
Well, right now, I believe it's $500, correct?
I don't know what the fee is, but I don't.
What is the fee to do it right now? Because I have not looked into that part of it at all. Does anybody know what the fee is for solicitation registration that's required?
The ordinance just says that the fee will be pursuant to an amount set in Chapter 114, Article 2 of your code. I didn't look at
Well,
that.
aside from the fee, so assuming, because I'll be honest with you, lately I've been doing a lot of gardening and planting, and you get a lot of people come up, they don't have anything on them. And I think that's where we should, okay, assuming we can't change the time, because they're up to me, I think 8 o'clock would be reasonable, or 7, but you're saying the courts are gonna rule in your favor, that's fine, it is what it is.
Courts have been
I get it.
consistent.
But let's make it so that they follow the rules. You shouldn't be at my doorstep unless you have a permit. And if you violate that, you should be fined severely. In my opinion, $500 is not enough. You have these people walking up to you and they have absolutely nothing on them. You know,
if you
most
ask,
people won't
It is $100 at this point in time, which I believe is probably,
100 is the permit fee
It
per
should be
person.
no more than $500.
I don't think that at this point in time that path is the correct one for you to go down.
For the violation?
No, we're talking about registration.
No, this is to get the permit.
No, I'm speaking of if you show up at a doorstep, if you show up at somebody's door and you're peddling and you don't have a permit, you should have a violation, you should get fined.
If you are ticketed, that's what I understand that your building commissioner does at this point, is he issues a ticket for an appearance in the administrative hearing court. Okay.
Gotcha. So right now, if they violate, it's $500 per offense, correct?
That may well be. I don't have that part of the ordinance in front of me, Trustee.
Well, maybe that's something that we should look at, which is why we brought it here, and it wasn't under legislative action items. We're kind of working on it. I think this needs to be tweaked because, you know, the courts aren't living in our houses. They don't know what's going on. They're not watching our children. They don't care. It's our job to oversee this. And I'm not arguing, I'm just saying. Let's tweak it. Let's do it so that it protects our residents. Because this does not protect our residents. It protects big corporations.
If you're going to do anything, you need to have evidence to show that what you're doing is necessary. I think we're both emphasizing that to you, so we can look at it, but I mean, there have been a number of United States Supreme Court decisions that have said, okay, you can require registration as long as you don't eliminate the ability of the solicitor to speak or to conduct their business. You can put your sticker up, and then that should act as a deterrent, and that person should not pursue by knocking on the door or ringing the bell. You can limit times, but those times have to be realistic so that the person bringing the message has an opportunity to deliver the message. I didn't pick 9 o'clock. The courts did. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the protection for your citizenry that you want, but the courts have said you got to be really, really restrictive here because it is the First Amendment we're talking about, the most important of all. As the one gentleman, I believe, from the veterans, the one veteran and also the gentleman from the American Legion spoke, freedom is the first one. Freedom to speak, freedom to deliver your ideas, freedom to knock on a door. All right? Those are all important. So when you restrict them, you need to have a real compelling interest in doing so. So we can look at it, Eric and I can look at it together and see if we can do anything more than what you're already doing, other than encourage more enforcement if it's made known that someone is out there that's soliciting, or if it's made known that the fraudster, so to speak, is knocking on the doors. But that I think is the best we'll be able to do, because you have a pretty good ordinance here. You know, there are some things in this ordinance that a sharp-eyed First Amendment lawyer would say, okay, I want to take a look at that. So you got to be really careful here and going much further than what you have, okay?
Your current penalty is not less than $100, not more than $1,000 for each offense, or for each violation. So that way, for example, if you had a peddler that did, or solicitor that did not get his registration, his or her registration, and they hit 5, 6 houses, each of those technically could be a violation. That's going to be up to the court to get to that point, but between $100 and $1,000 is the current fine.
This problem is not something new. I've heard from several residents just in the area I live, that when they ask for their credentials or their license, they get very belligerent and they get aggressive, and then when somebody says, I'm going to call the police then, they just move down to the next subdivision. So, Lieutenant Taylor, would you be able to address this question as to the amount of calls? Do the calls increase for solicitation during this time of the year and when we get into this season where it's a little bit warmer? And how are those calls usually handled? And would the recommendation be if someone's got a house or at their residence where they're having this problem, should they call 911 or the non-emergency number to address the issue if they run into this?
Solicitation is up this time of year. Most of the calls we get are because they don't show the permit, and then we show up and then they do show the permit. So we inform them that if a citizen asks, you have to show the permit. Solicitation is up in spring and summer for sure, and it will be through the fall. We don't get many complaints after 5 o'clock, very, very rare, recently, the past year or so.
Okay, and when it comes to the fine, I imagine you probably give them a warning first, which is probably the right thing to do.
Not for solicitors, we give them a ticket.
Or take it right, so it doesn't have to be through the building commissioner to give a adjudication ticket.
Correct.
You actually give them the ticket.
Correct, we wrote a couple last month, at least one last month for sure.
Okay, so we know the support is there behind law enforcement to correct the problem when it comes up.
Solicitors are one of my biggest complaints because they could have nefarious intent, so for sure, we definitely want to reinforce that, for sure.
And wouldn't that be a good reason to have cameras?
I'll leave that, guys, up to you, but...
I think we should also look at some type of program to get these stickers in the hands of people that maybe can't physically come up to the village hall to get them. Like you know,
Maybe we could put something online where they could fill out a form and have it sent to them.
There is something online. There is something. I haven't seen it. Yeah, print it out and put it online.
yeah, even the stickers, or even if they, you know, can't physically get, you know, we have a lot of people that, like the seniors and people that just don't have, they can sign up for it, and, you know, we can get a group of volunteers to help distribute it out to the people who can't get here.
Yes.
I agree. Right, it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that Dan, Trustee Belso, thank you so much. And same for Lieutenant Taylor. Sitting on the Public Safety Committee, I can tell you both as a member and as a resident, I've had people approach me up to 8:45 at night. They were extremely aggressive. As a mom, somebody who takes care of somebody who's a senior citizen, and a husband who's a lot, I feel very unsafe with people approaching my house that late at night. And they're quite bold when they come to the door. So I wanted to let you guys, Carrie and Eric both, please, as our village attorney, whatever you can do to assist us in shoring up this ordinance and staying still on the length of the law on what we can do to prevent people from abusing this would be greatly appreciated. I don't think that the fines are enough, and I also think that our signs should be bigger and more bold. And I think if we put those kind of signs up at people's windows, we also need to advertise that we're doing those kind of permits up in the window or signage to explain to residents that you do have a choice to say no to these people before they ring your doorbell. That would be great. There's just too many things that have changed in the past couple of years and crime increased. I think this would be a great step to kind of combat that a little bit. So thank you so much for both attorneys for looking into this and seeing what else we can do. Thank you.
So in the end, our idea is to protect the community and protect the First Amendment rights. So however we can shore this up, like Trustee Castellino just said, I'd like to see us tighten this up a little bit to make it have a little more bite than what it's got now. If you can put those suggestions out there, if we can't, if you look at it collectively and you don't think that there's anything we can do with it, then let us know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
I have nothing for closed session.
With all due respect, Mayor, I had asked for the executive session minutes beyond tonight's meeting, but with respect to Mr. Roti and yourself, I ask that we just remove that from tonight and do it another night.
All right, with Jerry saying he has nothing to do on it, Eric, you have anything?
Nothing else, John.
All right, so if there's nothing to be discussed, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.